All right, today we're going to tackle one of the biggest, most complex challenges in the entire insurance industry, a full-blown policy administration system transformation. You can think of this as your personal blueprint, your expedition guide, for a journey that can literally redefine a company. So let's dive right in.
To really get a sense of the scale here, let me ask you a question. How do you replace the engine of an airplane while it's in the air? I mean, that's pretty much the level of complexity we're talking about. A PAS is the absolute core of an insurer, and you have to rebuild it without the business skipping a beat. It's a massive, massive undertaking.
And that's because, let's be super clear, this is not just about swapping out some old software. It's a fundamental business transformation. It changes everything, from how people do their jobs day to day to the company's ability to grow in the future. Getting this right isn't just important, it's everything. Okay, so if the stakes are that high, how on earth do you manage an overhaul like this? Well, every good expedition needs a set of guiding principles, a compass, to keep you heading in the right direction. So let's look at the 4 principles that will keep this mission on track. Every single successful expedition lives by a few core rules. For this one, there are 4. First, it has to be business-led. The business goals decide the destination, the technology is just how you get there. Second, you've got to be agile and iterative. We're talking small, manageable steps, not one giant, terrifying leap. Third, and this one's huge, success is all about business value. It's not about flipping a switch on new tech. And finally, you need disciplined governance, a solid mission control to keep the entire expedition on course.
So I just mentioned mission control, right? Let's zoom in on that for a second, because this is the absolute bedrock of the whole project. It provides the structure, the oversight, the rules of engagement. So who's actually on this team?
Well, think of it like this. At the very top, you've got your executive steering committee. They're the mission commanders. Then, running the day-to-day show, you have the Transformation Management Office, or TMO. They're your flight directors. Your design authority, those are the chief engineers, making sure everything is built to last. And finally, you have the workstream leads, the captains on the ground actually making it all happen. Now, with all these different teams in the mix, how do you stop things from getting messy or bogged down in meetings? That's where a simple tool called a RACI matrix comes in. It's just a clear map that spells out exactly who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for every decision. It answers that one critical question up front: who decides what? And keeps the whole expedition moving. All right, so mission control is established, the team knows their roles. Now it's time to unroll the map. This entire expedition is mapped out as a 5-phase journey. This gives us a really clear roadmap from the very start all the way to the finish line. And here they are, the 5 key phases that take us from a big idea all the way to long-term value. We're going to walk through each one, starting right where you should: strategy and discovery. Phase 1 is all about laying the groundwork. Before you take a single step, you have to define the why and the what. What does that mean? It means building a rock-solid business case to define your destination, figuring out exactly where you're starting from, and, so important, getting all the key executives on the same page. Okay, if phase 1 was like drawing the treasure map, phase 2 is where you create the super detailed architectural blueprint. This is where high-level ideas become a concrete, executable plan. You figure out exactly how the business is going to work in the future, and you officially assemble your mission control and all your delivery teams. And now we get to the fun part. Phase 3 is where you actually start building. This is where the plan gets executed. The key here is an agile approach. You move forward in these short, manageable sprints. This is also where you execute the data migration, moving all the critical supplies, and test everything constantly, making sure all your gear is working perfectly. All right, you've built the new system. Phase 4 is all about moving in. But you don't just throw open the doors to everyone at once. No way. You send out a scout team first. That's your pilot testing. You do tons of training to get the crew ready for the new environment, and then you do a phased rollout, moving everyone over in stages to keep things smooth. And finally, phase 5. Now, a lot of projects stop at go live, but that's a huge mistake. This is the ongoing phase where you actually prove the whole expedition was worth it. You track your results against the original business case, you fine-tune everything, and you set up a cycle so you're always getting better. So, we've walked through the 5-phase map. But who's actually doing all this work? I mean, a journey this complex doesn't happen by itself. You need a skilled crew of specialists, right? Let's take a quick look at these key teams, or as we call them, work streams. Here's the core crew. You've got your technology team, they're building the infrastructure. The data migration crew has the incredibly delicate mission of moving all your information safely. Your integration specialists are the ones connecting your new system to everything else. Testing and QA make sure every single piece of equipment is rock solid. And, maybe the most important crew of all, change management. They handle the people side of things, guiding the whole organization through this massive shift. So, after all that planning, all that building, and all that teamwork, how do you really know if the expedition was a success? Well, the focus has to shift from just getting it done to measuring the real, tangible business value you've created. And the payoff becomes crystal clear when you just compare the before and after. Before, you were probably stuck with slow, manual work. It took forever to launch a new product, and your costs were high. Afterwards, you're seeing huge automation rates. You're launching new products in just months, and your costs, both operational and IT, are way down. And you're not just guessing here. You track this with cold, hard data, key performance indicators. A truly successful project lifts the whole business. You see costs go down, sure, but you also see direct, positive impact on revenue growth. That's when you know you've really reached the destination. And this really all boils down to one powerful idea, which is captured perfectly in this quote. Success is not measured by technical milestones, but by the achievement of tangible business outcomes. That says it all, doesn't it? The technology is just the tool. The real destination is a stronger, faster, and more competitive business. So there you have it. That's the blueprint for one of the most demanding, but also one of the most rewarding journeys a company can ever take. The principles are clear, the path is mapped out. So the only question left to answer is, what will your expedition achieve?